The night was thick, and the road seemed endless. Jake Boone, a tough and fearless truck driver, drove alone on a deserted highway. The truck's radio only emitted static, and the cell signal was fading away. Everything around him was immersed in an oppressive silence. He lit a cigarette and stepped on the gas. He had always laughed at haunted road stories, but that night, something felt different. The truck's headlights flickered for a second, and when they came back, the road seemed wrong. The asphalt was cracked, the streetlights were out. He frowned. Must be an electrical issue, he muttered, trying to ignore the strange feeling creeping into his chest. The rear-view mirror. He saw something disturbing. The road behind him was completely dark, as if swallowed by an infinite shadow. A figure appeared ahead, standing on the shoulder. Tall, thin, and motionless. Jake wasn't one to scare easily, so he just kept his eyes on it. When he passed the spot, the figure was gone. Nothing but the cold wind cutting through the night. Then, the radio crackled back to life. Amid static and distorted noises, a voice whispered something that made Jake's blood run cold. "You shouldn't be here." Jake snapped the radio off. "Damn weird road," he muttered, trying to convince himself. It was just interference. That's when a new figure appeared in the middle of the road. This time, too big to be human. He yanked the wheel, swerving at the last second. The truck skidded and stopped, on the shoulder. Jake got out, furious, ready to curse, but there was no one there. Just the empty road and a suffocating silence. The wind was still, the air heavy. That's when a low, dragging laugh echoed, coming from all directions. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "Who's there?" he shouted, his voice firm but edged with caution. The only response was the sound of footsteps, not normal ones but echoing impossibly, as if coming from everywhere at once. Jake gripped the steering wheel tightly as something in the rearview mirror caught his eye. In the back seat, a distorted silhouette, tall, inhuman, with glowing red eyes like burning embers, watched him in silence. Jake freezes for a second upon seeing the creature in the front mirror's reflection, but when he looks directly, it's gone. Fear begins to turn into anger. He grabs a crowbar he keeps beside the seat and looks around, trying to find whatever is there. The oppressive silence is broken only by the faint sound of the wind. The radio turns on by itself and starts playing a distorted, almost childlike melody. Jake frantically presses the buttons, trying to turn it off, but nothing works. He even shuts off the electrical panel, but the music keeps playing. The temperature suddenly drops, and his breath turns to mist, as if he were inside a freezer. His fingers start to tingle from the cold, and a shiver runs down his spine. The darkness around him seems to breathe, shifting like something alive. Jake feels he is being watched. The sensation is unbearable, as if something is lurking just beyond his sight. He grips the steering wheel tightly. Something is very wrong. He decides to leave and turns the key in the ignition, but something feels off. The engine starts, but the speedometer spins wildly, as if the vehicle were out of control. The dashboard flickers erratically before displaying a disturbing message. "You shouldn't be here." Before Jake can react, something slams hard against the back of the truck, making the vehicle shake. He quickly looks in the mirror but sees nothing, just the dense darkness of the road. Fear takes over. He shifts gears and floors it, trying to escape. But as he speeds forward, the road seems to stretch endlessly, as if he will never reach anywhere. The GPS begins, repeating the same nonsensical address, with coordinates leading nowhere. He tries to make a turn but realizes he is driving in a loop. He passes the same abandoned gas station 3 times. Jake decides to stop and get out of the truck to inspect the place, but he notices his footprints on the road disappear. The silence is broken by whispers around him. They say his name, Jake. A figure appears in the truck's cabin, red eyes glowing in the dark. Jake runs but suddenly stops when he sees another truck identical to his parked ahead. He approaches and sees someone inside. It's himself, covered in blood, trying to say something, but his mouth is stitched shut. The creature with red eyes slowly approaches from behind, and Jake feels that something is wrong with his own shadow. Suddenly, everything goes dark. A final whisper. Now You are one of us. The total darkness lasts only a few seconds before Jake realizes he is still conscious, but surrounded by thick, cold fog. He tries to move, but his body feels heavy, as if sinking into the ground itself. From within the fog, the creature begins to contort, its bones cracking as its form shifts. The red eyes glow for a moment before turning normal. The face reshapes until it becomes identical to Jake's. Jake watches, powerless, as the creature fully takes on his appearance. Now, there are two Jakes. He tries to scream, but no voice comes out. When he looks at his hands, he sees his skin turning gray, stretching unnaturally. Pain floods his body as his bones begin to deform, becoming long and thin. Jake feels his face is stiffening, his mouth sealing shut against his will until he can no longer open it. The creature, now identical to him, calmly walks toward the truck. Jake tries to run after it, but his legs won't obey. He can barely stand. The truck's engine roars, and Jake sees himself in the driver's seat looking into the rearview mirror and smiling. The fog begins to engulf him completely, and he feels his mind slipping away, as if being erased. The truck drives off, its lights disappearing into the endless dark road. When the fog clears, Jake realizes where he is, standing on the roadside, tall, thin, and motionless. He feels no cold, no fear, only waiting. In the distance, the headlights of another truck cut through the darkness. The cycle begins again.
Good.